So the first question is, one experienced practitioner told me that I should have a purpose for practicing, like a goal for practicing. She asked me, Zhenya, why do you meditate? And I had nothing to answer. So I told her some explanation from my head. I was in Haengja in May on retreat, which he opened, Dae Bong Sunim, by Zoom. And after this retreat, I discovered that I don't know anything about myself. So many things was artificial. So I told her my purpose now is just to discover my true nature. So should I keep in mind any purpose for practicing or just do it? That's it. This is the first question. Thank you.
Okay. So my hearing's not so good. So somebody asked you why you practice, and you didn't have anything you could say.
Yes, I told just mainly to discover my true nature, because after retreating Haengja in May, I understood that I don't know anything about myself. Everything was artificial. So
very important why we practice. Actually, it's the most important thing. It's like if you have a fancy car, where are you trying to go? You know, maybe you have this great car and you want to go to Busan. There's a lot of Russian people in Busan. You can buy Russian food. But your direction's not clear, you end up in Pyongyang. Maybe you're Russian, so Pyongyang's okay. If I go up there, I have a problem. But direction's very important. So why do we practice? To help others. Buddha said, I only teach two things, the cause of suffering and the end of suffering. So if we look at this world, everything has suffering. Animals, plants, maybe plants don't feel it the same way, but everything appears, lasts for a while, then falls apart and disappears. Planets, maybe the whole universe, everything has that. And sentient beings experience suffering. So you don't want to suffer. Well, nobody else does either. So if we learn to take care of our suffering, then what's left? Help others who are suffering. So if somebody asks you, why do you practice? Just say, for you. If you become clear, then what are you going to do? You will, if you see somebody, if you're hungry, you'll eat. If you see somebody's hungry, you'll give them food. The problem in the world nowadays is that humans, we don't understand our correct job. Understand ourselves and help others. That's it. And then the world's pretty good. Actually, if we understood that, we could solve every problem, economic, political, religious, psychological, everything. So it's really, what is the biggest issue in people's lives? Well, if your life isn't that bad, then maybe you don't notice it, but suffering. Everybody has suffering. And everybody will one day die, disappear. So this is the purpose of practice. If we understand if we attach to our body and attach to our identity, our I, then we will suffer for sure. But if we realize our original nature has no birth, no death, no beginning, no end, no taint, no purity, and it's capable of everything. If we realize that, then we realize actually there's no life, no death. Because we attach to what appears, we have life and death. But your true self doesn't appear, doesn't disappear. How's that? It's beyond thinking. You can't realize it through thinking. Realizing that, and then try, we can help others who are suffering. So that's the purpose. Become clear and then help others. When I started practicing, all I wanted to do is get clear. I was suffering a lot. I suffered looking at the world, too. I didn't know what to do to help the world. I couldn't help myself. So I just had this big question of how to become clear. So that's the purpose. Become clear and help others. And you can in wonderful little ways that are really surprising, Doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be like that princess. She's picking up these little shellfish and throwing them in the ocean. And the journalist says, what difference can that make? There's thousands of them. And she picks one up, throws it in, and says, big difference for that one. So you help one person. And you fulfill the purpose of the universe. You just have to do it again and again and again, moment to moment. And that's the way out of suffering. Look at what we do to make suffering for each other. It's unbelievable. And everybody does. But the clearer we are, the less we do that. Yeah. So somebody asks you, why do you can surprise them for you. For me? How are you helping me? Well, I'm talking to you right now. Just come back to this moment. I've tried to stay off of television in Korea. When the Western monks were first coming here, magazines wanted to interview people and put on TV, and there were a number of the Sunims who were good at that. They liked it. I didn't like it, because I like to know who I'm talking to, not like a camera, But I was on twice, I think, and at the end of one interview, the interview woman said to me, "What's the most difficult question you've ever been asked?" And I said, "That one." It's like, so in some ways, if we're clear, it's so easy. It's just like rolling down a hill, I tell this all the time, but I was visiting my mother before she died. She was 91 at the time, living at home. And I was like 67, I think. And we're watching the news on TV, and out of nowhere, she turns to me. I think anybody can appreciate this. She says, you could have gone to Harvard University. And I just, inside, I just thought, I can't believe it. I graduated high school 50 years ago, and she's talking about this. When I was a kid, we would have had a fight because I didn't like Harvard, Yale. They made the CIA. They made the Vietnam War. I don't want to be involved with that kind of thing. And there's lots of good places to get educated. But this time I said, "Mom, why don't you apply to Harvard? I'll write you a recommendation, and with your CV, I'm sure you'll get in." And she gave me this great mom's face, which I think is probably true in any culture. One part of it, about 40% was, "Oh, my son's so clever, cute." But the bigger part was, "Why don't you listen to me?" I could see it in her face, but she was speechless. So that's clear. And she's suffering because I didn't go to Harvard. I'm not suffering. I'm happy. But flipped it on her. And then she thinks, "Oh, it's cute. But listen to me next time." So that's why. Become clear. It saves you from suffering, and it will help other people. In Korea, I guess maybe in most cultures, there can be a lot of pressure to get married. And so sometimes women, like in their 30s, will come here, and they don't want to go home on holiday because everybody's going to give them a hard time about being married. And people are always doing that to each other. We do it to ourselves. It's like, not enough, no matter what the situation, not enough. So I said to them, if you go home and your aunt or your mother or something says, "Why aren't you married? When are you getting married?" Just ask them, "Are you happy married?" Then, if they say yes, just smile, say "wonderful," and walk away. If they say no, then say, "Why should I do it?" and walk away. So we do this to ourselves too. They're constantly attacking each other because everybody thinks not enough. But everything's already enough. But you still have to try, because moment, new moment. And just thinking it's not enough won't do it. You can think anything and it won't necessarily make you feel good just by thinking it. So Zen practice will That's called wisdom. You can get wisdom. How to handle situations, how to deal when you're making yourself suffer, seeing how you're doing it and cutting through that, seeing how other people do it and making an effort to help them.